Whisky Hunter here. Welcome back, hunters. Another hunt, another review. A few weeks ago, I was talking with somebody and they mentioned to me that they knew somebody that may have some whiskey as they had to leave town. I wasn't sure of the circumstances, but they gave me her phone number. I reached out to her and she invited me over. She lives not too far from me. And said she did have some bottles, and she said she had a lot of different bottles that she was getting rid of, and she'd explain the situation when I got there. It wasn't far, so I took a drive over there. When I got there, her apartment was in complete disarray, everything all over the place. She had boxes of liquor, and I'm not really only interested in scotch and maybe some bourbon or rum possibly, but that's it. She had a couple bottles of whiskey that I might be interested in. So she showed them to me and I was. She explained to me that she was leaving town in 5 days. She was trying to sell her bed set and everything else in her apartment, that she was leaving to go out of the country to Thailand. So I asked her what the situation was. She told me that she worked for Suntory. And what happened was she went to a party at some, I don't know if it was someone's house, I don't exactly remember, or a facility. And in any case, she invited one of her associates to go with her, and it turned out that this was another competitor. So they were partying at this party, and her associate, friend of hers, cut himself. He had to go to the hospital. Well, when he reported where he worked, or somehow or another, it got back to her boss that due to this associate getting cut, they found out she was at this party. They were at this party that she invited him to, and it was a competitor. She was immediately fired. It was not allowed. She had been there a couple years. She was, an ambassador for Suntory. And so she decided, instead of hunting around for another job, that she'd take the opportunity with the money she saved and she'd go to Bangcock and sell everything she owns. So she was giving most of her liquor away to a friend to his wedding, but she was willing to let the Suntory go. So I picked up from her this bottle of 17-year Hibiki, and this bottle that I did in a review a couple reviews ago, the 18 Yamazaki. And I will tell you that she gave me both of these bottles for $100. I know, crazy, especially with how you can't find Yamazaki or Hibiki in any stores, and if you do, they're at secondary prices. So you can see that I've dented the 2 bottles in the last few weeks. The 12-year here, I have had open about a year. So what we're going to do today is review the 12 against the 17 Hibiki and compare the two and see what we think and what we get. So as I said, they're Suntory distillers out of Japan, and these are blends. They're made up of malt and grain. The two malt distillers are Yamazaki, who I recently just mentioned, and Hakusu. The grain is Cheetah. It's mostly a malt and probably 25% grain. This is 43%. It is chill filtered and it is colored, or colors added. And when you look at the two of these, you can see they're virtually the same color, though one's got 5 years on the other, and that is due to the coloring. They're both a honey gold, and really I can detect no difference in color. This decanter, it's one of the nicest decanters you're going to see from a bottled whiskey. In fact, it makes a great decanter when you're done with it, to put whatever juice you want in it. You can see that there's these facets on it. Prisms. There's 24 of these prisms. And these prisms are here as a representation, and they represent the 24 seasons that they have in Japan. Unlike our limited seasons, they have 24. So let's get into this. We'll nose each of them, taste each of them, and I'll give you my impression on each. The 12-year. I've had a good portion of this bottle. It's the first thing I detect on this, and have always detected on it, is the plums. Immediately it's a big plum aromatic. It's extremely smooth. It's I get raisins out of this. Apples. You know, one of the reasons to spin your glass at 45 degrees is not just for the legs, which I think you can see on that. They form pretty fast. They're starting to come down. It's only, like I said, 43%. But when you do that, that whiskey coating the sides of the glass allows you to nose the aromatics easier, instead of putting your nose all the way down into the glass. So as I was saying, apples, I get vanilla. They use the Mizunara oak trees in Japan, and that the casks they use the Mizunara oak tree for the casks. So you get a lot more fruit from that, sweet oak, and the vanilla. It's very sweet. It's almost a candy sweetness. It's if syrup were aromatic, this would be it. And a lot of toffee. I'm not partial to 12-year-olds in most whiskey other than Isla's, but this is seems a lot older than its years. Let's nose the Hibiki 17. Now, I don't get the impactful plum on the 17 that I do on the 12-year. I do get a subdued sweetness, not as thick and syrupy as the 12. I do get the fruits. I want to say fried bananas. Honey, there's more honey in this as opposed to the plum in the other. A lot of honey and very floral. There's nuts, maybe some hazelnut. And I don't want to say coffee, but a cocoa aroma. Again, a really nice blend, and very, very rich and creamy. Let's taste the 12-year. It's got a great mouth tingle for only 43%. I get the plums. It's almost a dessert wine. It's so plummy. Apple crisp. The vanilla that was in the nose. It's very buttery. Pound cake kind of buttery. Creme brulee. A little lemon, cherries, prunes, raisins. For a 12-year-old, it drinks like a much older whiskey. Let's take a little water. The 17, See what we get on that. It doesn't, it's not plum forward like the 12. It is sweet and very smooth. The honey that's on the nose is there, more of a honeycomb. Kind of reminds me of chewing honey wax. Bananas. It's custardy, creamy. Toffee and butterscotch, very fruity. There's this breakfast bar that I like. It's a cashew nugget bar. I forget who makes it, but it kind of reminds me of that taste. It's like a cream nugget and a lot of vanilla. It's very similar, other than it doesn't have that plum flavor that the 12-year-old has. Let's try them each with some water. See if that changes it up a little. You know, the paper they use on these bottles is not regular paper that most distilleries use. This paper comes from Japan. You know, that with the prism glass, the beautiful decanter, and this thing is a paperweight. It's heavy. Contribute to the price. When these came out in the mid 2000s to late 2000s, they were very affordable. You know, and in the last few years after winning Whiskey of the Year, they've exploded like Yamazaki has. And I mean, the 12-year is now priced at what the 17-year used to be. I'm guessing the 12 years go for $200 now, and the 17 years probably up towards $300, and the Yamazaki 18 $450 to $500, and that was $70 when it first came out. It's just crazy. It's for $300. You know, it's good, but it drinks like a blend. It's color. It's color added E150. It's chill filtered, and I'm a purist in that regard. I would much rather have a whiskey that's natural and fats floating around inside the glass. I want a natural whiskey if at all possible. But so let's see with the water added, a drop or two of water. It has brought out more of a bouquet in the 12. It's brought out much more of the honey, where the plum was more prominent. Now you've got honey kind of overriding that plum. I get more of the bananas in it. Taste. I think that the ABV of 43% and adding water, dropping it down, I don't know, 35, 36 maybe, is brought it down too low. I want that plum in this. That's what I like about it. It's taken some of that away. It doesn't have as much punch in the on the mouth, not as good a mouthfeel. So I wouldn't add water to the 12-year-old. I think it's better without the water. The 17. It's kind of subdued the fruits and the banana that I thought was kind of prominent in the nose. without the water. I get a little more of the cocoa and nuts, and the floral's still there. The garden flower smell, the palate. It's very smooth still, very sweet. Again, the water subdues it more. I think both of these shouldn't have any water, in my opinion. Take some of the custard cream out of it, and I don't get as much as that of that cashew bar that I got before the water. But hold, they're very good drams.